Video to me in my sales process is like entering a cheat code. It not only increases conversions, we're seeing customers go from 1 to 2% conversions to 30% conversions, and return on ad spend going from like a few cents on the dollar to, hundreds of dollars for dollars spent just through using video in some strategic positions within our sales process.
Welcome to the Simon Says Video Podcast with your host, me, Simon Banks, where we talk about all things video and how this powerful medium can help you grow your business. We focus on how you can get a return on any video content you create. We talk about strategy, production, content, distribution, marketing, how you can get visible, gain new leads, and get new clients. And now, on with the show. Joining me today is Mike Killen. He is a specialist in sales and the sales process. And today we're going to talk about how you should be using video specifically for your sales process. So Mike, tell me a little bit about yourself first.
I'm considered the world's #1 sales expert for funnel builders. And for perhaps 99% of your audience, that won't really mean a lot. What I mean by that is I predominantly work with marketing agencies who build specific marketing automation processes for their companies. They're really good at the creative side, but they're pretty typically lousy at charging for their services, raising their prices, defining a niche. So I help them find more customers and make more sales for their agency services. And with that, we kind of do a little bit of agency work ourselves because we still have that going on in the background. But yeah, we do a lot of courses, books, promos. We've got a lot of stuff going on, and video is, I'm really excited to talk about this because video is a huge part of our sales process.
Okay, so talk to me, why video? Why is video such a huge process for your sales?
Yeah, so we briefly touched on this kind of when we were catching up earlier. It's crazy that people aren't exploiting what video can do because we're physically not allowed to meet face to face as much anymore. It's difficult pitching anyway. But when it all kind of kicked off in like a global lockdown pandemic, I was a little bit like, well, I don't really understand what the big deal is because I haven't been doing face to face stuff for years. Like we've got customers all over the world and we still manage to close 5, sometimes 6, sometimes even 7-figure deals using like video. And where it lies in our process specifically is it's an incredible follow-up tool, like just the most amazing follow-up tool. And what it basically is for our sales process is a bit like a kind of like a cheat code for the sales process, because it's a salesperson that delivers a perfect pitch every single time, 24 hours a day, essentially for as good as free. And your conversions are still roughly the same with like a real live person. So to me, I was like, let's produce our sales videos, make sure that our customers get a hold of them, see them, and basically make money and make sales and make closes without us having to physically and manually follow up with that particular customer. So it's a bit like a cheat code for us.
I like that term, a cheat code. So why aren't businesses doing it? Because I find a lot of businesses use video for marketing, promotional purposes, and then videos sort of don't really put it into their sales process at all. So how come you're using it so well and effectively, and why aren't other businesses seeing this?
And I don't know why, to be honest. There's a few reasons I think that overlap, and I don't think there's any one reason that's more prominent than others, and different businesses might have different reasons. I think it's predominantly seen as a marketing tool in terms of audience engagement because that's fun. Like you get to create fun graphics and designs and memes and music and stuff. And what I have found with video for sales, it's a very different type of video. In the same way that marketing is different from sales, a marketing video is different from a sales video. I think the first thing that people get way into their own heads, even when they're doing like interviews like this or YouTube or Instagram or whatever, is they think it has to be perfect every single time. And I think with creating video, people are like, well, I haven't got the best camera. I haven't got the best gear. I haven't got the best equipment, the best audio. I have found that some of my highest converting videos are me with my smartphone, holding it out in front of me, talking on the whiteboard behind me. And the audio is fine because I'm in a quiet room, but I do have a microphone that maybe costs 50 quid or something, you know? And then on the other side, people don't have a specific sales process. And if you don't have a sales process, it's very difficult to translate that into a video. I know how I sell products to customers, and I know how I sell, for example, my courses or my consulting or my coaching. My customers know how they sell agency services to their clients. So it's much easier for us to take something that's a repeated, predictable set of steps, turn that into a video. And I think a lot of people, their sales organizations don't have a structure. They don't have a repeat process. It's, the reason that cooking shows work so well is because they follow a recipe, and most salespeople aren't following a recipe, right? So they don't really know what to film because they don't know what they would repeat to one customer, to the 10th customer, to the 20th customer. If that changes individually, like if you don't have a sales process that you would apply in real life, like live to one person, to one person, to one person, then you're going to really struggle creating a video that does that same thing. So I think it's kind of half to do with being comfortable on camera a little bit. And like, we all fall into that trap of like, you've got to have the best gear. And then the other side is they don't really have a standardized sales process that they themselves would then be able to translate into video. I don't know if you've heard anything similar or if that makes sense.
I think people are missing a trick here, because most salespeople, most businesses I work with, they do have a sales process, or at least have sales collateral. So they'll have a brochure, they'll have a website. All right, so there is a process actually, because all the businesses I work with are large SMEs. There is a process there. What I find is missing, they don't get how that video can enhance their process. Now, I think particularly, I want to come back to the pandemic, because it's changed everything. Because salespeople traditionally, and I do the same, I love being in front of people. Get me in front of a person, I can probably convert them. Okay? All right? And I love those meetings, but you can't do it. It's very different now, even over Zoom. And I think people have actually said, I won't do video anymore, I'll just do a Zoom call and I'll convert that way. But I think that, again, that's a mistake. I think if you've got a brochure website, you've got content there already which you can convert into video, or have a video which has a PowerPoint deck on it. You know what I mean? You don't have to be in front of camera. You can voice it over. I mean, there's loads of different ways you can
100%.
different ways you can do this. And I think talking to business owners, I think, I'll just do this on Zoom. And I think Zoom is great, don't get me wrong, but there's still a missing part, and that's the follow-up. That is the follow-up. Even just doing something what I call personalized video. I mean, is this something that you use in your business?
I want to call it a hack, but that was the only sort of way I was able to kind of put it into words. Was typically we teach that if you do a presentation over Zoom, and you have to do it over Zoom or whatever, you want to try and close the customer there and then, right? For one reason or another, that doesn't always happen. It's a pretty high rate, but it doesn't always happen. Sending someone the proposal, if you have to send them a proposal and you can't talk to them face to face, the world's best piece of content you can provide alongside that proposal is a video of you going through the proposal. I don't know why it's so powerful. It doesn't even have to be long. It's 5 minutes of just going through the high level points and showing people where it is and talking to them. You mentioned like Loom earlier. That's exactly what we use. We would just do a screen recording using Loom, going over the proposal and sending that alongside it, was something like a 7 times increase in the number of people who closed, and they bought sooner as well. Like the sales cycle was much shorter during that period. So follow up and like supporting material alongside any of those closes, for the sake of running through something that you would have to do anyway. It just seems crazy to me that people wouldn't just attach that as a link and send it off with it, because it does work.
I think people, I find, overthink it. They overthink the tech. So everyone wants to go, well, I don't have the right equipment or the great lighting. A lot of the questions I always get is about the tech. Is about, seriously, I had one the other day. What light do you use? What is your ring light that I have right here? What camera do you use? What mic do you use? I mean, and I just think that's the wrong place to start. I think using something like Loom, as we've mentioned, is great. All you need is a decent microphone and a web camera, and you can talk to your slides, and there you are. I think the thing is, ultimately why video is, I think, is so effective is you can still see people. You can still see them, hear them, you can see the whites of their eyes, so to speak. So it's still some personal connection, which I think during this pandemic is we're all missing. So I believe, and this is a statement I always say, I think video is the next best thing when you can't meet someone face to face. Would you agree with that?
100%. In some respects, my sales teams won't like this. In some respects, I think video actually works better than meeting someone face to face. And it's the same reason that Zoom and networking online has taken off, because so one of my favorite ways to use video to make sales immediately is after I generate a lead online, I capture their information, I take their email address and their name. I don't redirect them to the free report or the thing that usually comes with it, or a little contact message saying, thank you very much, we'll be in touch with you. I don't do that. I redirect them to a page with a video that's maybe 5 or 6 minutes long. And it's sometimes me holding the camera. Sometimes it's a series of PowerPoint slides with just the words on it and me in the webcam in the top right. Production quality wise, it doesn't look anything special. And yet, in the comfort of their own home on the couch watching a laptop, someone's just downloaded some information and now they're able to watch a video for a few minutes. Those convert. And again, percentages wise, it's interesting, maybe around 3% for us, for our particular products, which doesn't sound high, but it's 3% of something that I haven't had to touch. It's completely on automation. And whereas in an ideal world, I would have so much of their contact information where I'd call them up, most people would rather hang up the phone, but also most people are happy to watch, here's a 10-minute video explaining whatever. And it actually is a sales video. It's actually because that's what a proposal is. A proposal is you telling them what the solution is to their problem. So you just give a proposal. It can be even generic, talking them through what these stages are and here's the solution. And by the way, if you want to have a conversation, click here, or if you want to get access to it, buy now. So in some respects, on a bit of a controversial note, I think that video beats live sales because there's zero pressure and zero obligation. And then it kind of comes back to that point you mentioned earlier about follow-up. Once you have that lead and once you have that person, having a live conversations cannot beat follow-up, having someone physically follow up with them. But sometimes making those initial pitches and even closes can be done entirely on automation with very little technology and a relatively low production quality video. So yeah, I love using video in the sales process like that.
It's not about having high production values per se. For me, it's all about strategy and the content. And if someone can see you and hear you reasonably well, and as long as you're presenting something which is of value, then it works. And I like the idea that so rather than, the idea is that no one likes to be sold to. However,
it's pretty much, yeah.
What you're explaining to me is that actually you're sending them a 5 or 10 minute basically sales video which people can watch in the comfort of their own home. Yeah, and that's what I mean. And they can watch that with comfort and they get all the information, and then they can part of their consideration or decision stage. And then I guess from that is another follow-up, right? So it might be another follow-up video, might be saying, hi, I'm just making sure we got my proposal. These might be your questions type of thing. And then anticipating any objections, rather than trying to call them and say, hi, have you got my proposal? Let's talk, type of thing. So I'm really interested to hear about how you actually think video beats actual real person selling.
The thing, the cold, hard reality is that video does beat people on many, many fronts. First of all, if let's say I generate 1,000 leads in a month, and I want to have my salesperson call them up and pitch to every single one of them, that's going to cost me maybe $3,000, right? In order to just pay for their time to get to do it. Or I can pay Vimeo the $12 or whatever it costs to host an infinite number of videos to have a perfect pitch, which, as you've said, we've had an expert come in and talk to us about the strategy and the mindset and the psychology and, most importantly, the story. And we turn again, one of our favorite ways is to take a proposal that has converted make it a little bit more generic, and then think of the core problem. For example, it turns away from, here's a proposal for Acme Incorporated on, doubling their revenue from theme park investments. And it turns into something like, here's how Acme turned $500,000 a day into $1 million a day using this 3-step plan. And you just present essentially the same proposal. And if you get it transcribed as well and put subtitles on, you've basically got a salesperson that pitches perfectly every single time, even if people can't hear or don't have the sound turned on their laptop. They still will be shown a piece of content that closes them and proves that you're the expert. It's for the sake of like a few days setup and talking to an expert to get that story written. It seems insane to me that businesses are just throwing that opportunity away, mostly because, and it's interesting, it comes back to, you say about tech and gear all the time. And in my opinion, it's a lot around the fear of being on camera, for the sake of just not kind of getting over that for a little bit and just biting your tongue. Yeah. There's a reason we don't have many salespeople on our team, but we have video editing and production and stuff, because it works. That the cold hard reality is it works really, really well.
Can you share with me some successes that you've had with some of your clients?
Yeah, of course. So we had one lady in particular who runs a relatively big marketing agency. She turned a $3,000 inquiry, a lead, into an $18,000 proposal just through following up with video, not even changing her sales process, just through following up with video. And what she did was, on the proposal that she wrote up, she said, there's no way that $3,000 is going to cut it, that it just is not going to cut it for what they want. So I'm going to put together an $18,000 project, which in a funny way is not the advice I would have given, but she did it and she won it. So what the hell do I know? So, but what she did is she followed my advice and took a video of her going through the proposal as a loom. I think she said it took 7 minutes in total, and she was a bit fumbly. I often find video is a little bit like playing live music. Like, you're the only one who knows that something's gone wrong, right? Whereas the audience can't really pick up on that stuff. And apparently they called her back that day and said, we love your video. It's so clear, the proposal, it is way above our budget, but we want to take this forward. So that was actually increasing the close rate and the budget just through demonstrating that she was willing to take the time to explain why it was worth 18,000. And I think the human brain is very, you mentioned earlier, like it's a good replacement. I don't think we haven't like evolved to tell the difference between a video person and a human person. And it adds massive weight to the message that you're delivering if you're willing to do it as a video. So that's one example. We got tons of them.
Can you share another example?
Yeah, great. Yeah, absolutely. One company was really struggling with their advertising. So they were spending a lot of money on Facebook ads. And this is a perfect example of the difference between video marketing and video sales. They were spending a lot of money on their video marketing. They had some amazing guys getting lots of attention and getting lots of views and shares and engagement. So they were paying for that on Facebook and Instagram predominantly. And then it was leading through to a page, and the page just fell flat. Long and short is that video budget for marketing and the advertising budget weren't converting into sales. So who do they blame? They blamed the sales team, right? They didn't blame the marketing team, which is interesting to me. They blamed the sales team. So what the sales team then started doing is exactly as I stated. In fact, even more stripped back than that. They put together a 10-minute sales letter. So the equivalent of a written sales letter, nice and stripped back. They turned that into text. And this is now a very common industry practice, right? This is super common. They turned that into text, did a voiceover. So it wasn't even seeing a real person. It was just a voiceover with the text. And they started seeing something like a 20 to 30% conversion rate from people coming through their leads to buying. So overnight, their ads and their leads are becoming profitable, but it's because they insisted on people watching a video And we're good at watching video now. We understand it. Your phone is so good at like dealing with video now that it allow you to turn it around, and everything is optimized for that. You can watch it on your TVs, even just with screen sharing. So people are going from interested to seeing a sales page and not being bothered to read it, to seeing an interesting message and an advert, to then seeing a video which told them a story. And the point of the story was click here to buy, and that's what worked. And now that's like a pretty standard platform that we all use, and this was for a marketing agency, not just like a cosmetics company or something.
So what do you think of the difference between marketing videos and sales videos?
I think part of that is like if we look at the role of marketing within our business, it's to attract attention, build trust, to help people. Like, is it John Jantsch says to know, like, and trust you, and video now is so cheap to push out as well on Facebook and Instagram and stuff. It's, you're paying cents for thousands of views. So I think the marketers have jumped on that and thought the metrics that we're measured against, views, engagement, clicks, that kind of stuff, is so easily cottoned on now with video that I think a lot of them have jumped on. With the salespeople go, part of it, I think, is people worry that if they introduce sales videos into their mix, the salespeople will get less credit. And maybe that's a valid excuse. And the answer is, the truth is, I don't have an answer for that, truthfully. But if anything could increase conversions, I think only a foolish business would be someone to turn that away. But I think a big part of it is marketing stories are easier to create than sales stories, partly because sales stories need a little bit more personalization. Marketing stories are easy to create because it's about getting people's attention and getting things in the marketplace and showing how crazy and wild you are and creating memes and whatever. Whereas a sales video requires a little bit more personalization, at least more segmentation, because I know who you are, I understand who you are, I understand what you do, but now I actually want it to be about me. Now I want the story to be about me, whereas I think a lot of marketing videos are about the world and the crazy things going on. So that might have something to do with it. But I just sometimes think people haven't ever thought that they could make that connection. They've just never thought they could do it. Like, no one like you has ever said, did you know that you could put video here in this part of the process? I just don't think anyone's ever explained that to them.
No, I guess maybe they're more traditional. So where would you put video in the sales process?
Right at the start, immediately after capturing a lead. Personally, I think that every single person who becomes a lead for a business needs to immediately be shown a sales video. Like, that is the first thing they should be shown before anything else, for a few reasons. First of all, we can reward them for wanting to take action. Like, if they're motivated, I call it rewarding motivated buyers. If they're a lead and one of those leads out of 100 thinks, actually, I do want to take it to this next level, I want to book a consultation call, I want to buy their product, I want to buy their entry-level product, I want to buy the book, whatever it is, I want to show them a video selling them that book. That's the first place. And then I think, kind of in terms of priority, it would then be on the other end of the scale to do with being alongside any proposal you send them, like any formal agreement that says, here's the offer, here's the price, here's the timescale, click here to buy. That needs to be accompanied with a video, to the point where I think that will probably become, for smart businesses, that will become standard practice, not just like a fad. That will be seen as something that then their salespeople are then trained on using video like that. Yeah.
And that's been around for a while. There's loads of platforms you can use now which record your video and your screen, and you can upload them. Like, there's got Wischia's Soapbox, there's Buongiorno, there's Loom. There's loads you can use which actually make the whole process easy. And you can then put into an email, and actually tracks the email as well. So you see when they open it. You can then look at the stats as in terms of how long they viewed of it, which bits of the video they went back over. So you know if someone's replayed something a couple of times, you know that either that's something they're interested in or something they need a bit more understanding of. So you then can go back to that person specifically and see what they've looked at. Or even if they didn't watch the video, you can send a reminder. Yeah. Or if they watched it 5 times, you know they're a hot lead. So therefore you got to follow them up.
Well, Loom now has calls to action built into it. So if you are using something like DocuSign or some kind of online payment processor, there's no reason why you can't even physically link it to the video that you're sending over. Like everything is being optimized to make it as easy as possible to get the customer to give you money. Like all these big companies are thinking like this. I use something called Descript, which is what I use for like all of our video editing and stuff. And what I can do in Descript now is answer a question that a customer sends me, which is an objection, as you pointed out. That objection gets transcribed in real time. I have a screen sharing of the video. I can send that to them, track all of it, put calls to action all over it so they can actually click and buy the thing. And on top of that, I then have a documented video and answer and text responding to the objection for the next person who creates it. So I don't have to answer that question again. I've got it documented and our support team can push it out. And all of this becomes that sales collateral that you talked about earlier, which is part of the process, which most businesses have.
No, I think that's what I often say to my clients. The first place you go to if you want to look for video content is answer the most frequently asked questions you get. And you just create one video, just one video per question. And that's part of your sales process. When you get a lead and you send them your proposal, and then you just follow up. So rather than follow up and go, hi, we read my proposal, can we talk? All you're doing is saying, here's a question we always get asked. For us, it's always about cost. And you just create a video about why video production per se costs so much. It's just about education of the client. And I think that's a real simple place to do. It's collateral, as you said. It becomes an asset. So these become video assets which you can use over and over again.
Yeah. We've got a standardized, we call it an anti-follow-up sequence, because in my sales experience, if I send you a proposal and then I call you up saying, oh, I was just wondering if you got it. I know you've got it. You know you've got it. We know what I'm really asking is, are you planning on signing it soon? So we have a different approach. And what we'll do is, particularly when we were doing things like websites or video production, sorry, not video production, that's your bag, or the content marketing side of it, I would go into like an SEO research tool and again, screen share. And I would say, we've just been doing a bit of high level research. I know you guys haven't signed the proposal yet, but I just wanted to show you what some low hanging fruit is going to be for some of the keywords. So we found these ones and these ones, which is going to be really interesting. Anyway, just thought I'd share this with you, shared it with our team. We're really excited to get started. So I'm not even saying, oh, have you opened the proposal? I'm presuming you're going to buy. And so I've told my team that we're going to get started on the project. Oh, and by the way, here's some of the steps that we've already found. So I'm already doing a little bit of preliminary research, and it takes like seconds to do. But again, it's all data points that on the follow-up process all eventually stack up in your favor towards, this is the person that I want to work with. And again, most of this software costs like a few dollars a month, if that. Years ago it was almost impossible to do something like this, but it's just so readily available now.
I think that's one of the key points is multiple touch points and using video on these multiple touch points. Especially, I find if you can't get hold of the person, these days everyone's working from home, so therefore just sending them an email with a link is really important, so then they can watch it when they're ready to watch as well. And I just think it's great there. You're adding some value immediately, and then I think people go, and that automatically, because you're already giving something for them for nothing, all right, they sort of think, oh, Mike's a nice guy, actually he's really helped me here. So when it comes to looking at your proposal against others, they're more likely to go with you.
Like I said, right at the start, video is our sales process. We actually think about how we'll run campaigns from the standpoint of what are the videos we need to create for it, because it bleeds into every other aspect of what we do and what we create, not just for us, but what we teach our guys to do and what they're starting to do with their agency clients as well.
So I'm a salesperson and we're not using video as part of our sales process. Convince me why I should be using video.
Video to me in my sales process is like entering a cheat code. It not only increases conversions, we're seeing customers go from 1 to 2% conversions to 30% conversions, and return on ad spend going from like a few cents on the dollar to, hundreds of dollars for dollars spent just through using video in some strategic positions within our sales process. So what we do with our clients is make sure that video is first in their strategy, and video isn't just a part of their sales strategy, it is their sales strategy, and it's a huge part of their longer term sales process.
So using video as part of your sales process, I mean, will it work for any business?
Yeah, the number one objection I hear about this is that, oh, our business is either very unique, or oh, we thought business video was only good for like business to consumer or consumer products or like low ticket products, and that is categorically 100% not the case. We have seen businesses win $100,000 plus deals. We talked about the $18,000 specific example for an agency. We had a deal with another business that was 1.6 million US dollars that was pretty much won exclusively through the use of producing really high quality stories. We know that it works for charities. We've worked with a couple of large, although they call them not for profit, so I should say rather than charity, but not for profits. The sales video there is very different because it's telling stories and asking for donations. But the reality is, from a high level view, it works exactly the same whether you're selling underwater mining machinery, books, or cosmetics. Having video in your sales process, it's it's one of the most sensible ways and cost effective ways for people to be able to increase conversions across the board, regardless of the market and regardless of the price point.
So Mike, just to wrap up our conversation, where would you start if you're looking to use video as part of your sales process?
First of all, I'd immediately start showing a video to all leads who subscribe, any contact form, anything that's kind of the top end of that funnel. I'd immediately show them a sales video. That's something that can increase conversions immediately and start generating sales immediately. The second thing I'd start doing is looking on the other end of the sales process towards the end, and start using video in your follow-up process as well as the initial close. Those are the two biggest areas I see that would be able to affect any kind of sales process going forward. So yeah, that the start and the end of the process to me is the clearest place to affect sales.
And if you're not confident on camera or not sure about where to start in terms of tech and stuff, any advice on this?
Yeah, a little bit of get over yourself. The absolute worst thing that's going to happen is you're going to create a video that gets seen by 100,000 people, and some people say it's not very good, which to me, like, I would like that to happen now. The chances are you'll be absolutely fine if you work with people like yourself, Simon, who can take them through the strategy and the story that they want to tell. I think that takes a lot of the pressure off of being on camera. But having said that, there are some really easy sales videos that you can create that don't actually necessarily need to have you looking at a camera down the barrel like we are now. So there's a good blend. But personally, I would say get over it, swallow your fear, and create something that could really, really, really help your business and your customers.
No, I think you got to start, and it's just practice, practice, practice. You've got to create content, put it out there, see what the reaction is. I think being more authentic is sometimes better than doing really high production value. We know that works from a sales point of view. And I just think it's particularly what's going on with the pandemic when we can't go out to see clients. I think definitely you need to embrace video.
100%. Yep, completely agree with you on that.
Thank you, Mike, for your time.
Thank you for having me.
So thanks for watching the Simon Says Video podcast. You may be aware that this is also an audio podcast available on all your favorite podcasts app. And the audio versions are slightly different to the YouTube version, so please check them out. So thanks for watching, and I shall see you in the next video.